And Mr. Weddle, are you a river rat?
I like the river. I grew up on the river. I don't spend much time on it anymore. But when I was a child, my uncle had a boat, and I spent every Sunday on the river.
Great.
Right there
Thanks
in
for inviting
Maysville?
me. Yes.
The beautiful section of the river.
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me, Lacey.
Danny currently lives in our Old Washington Historic District. He is actually a brilliant historian here, well-versed on our history, had a long-standing career as a broadcaster here at WFTM in Maysville. He is sports in Maysville when you ask anyone. Has published a few books now and is very active in the community as far as getting out, running, and really participating in a lot of events.
What are your books about, Danny?
I wrote a history of basketball in Maysville and Mason County. It goes back to the start up until about 2010. It was just an overall history about our championships, our great players, and our coaches. And last year, I did a book of interviews that I've done over my 40-year radio career. A lot of it is sports, but I have a chapter on the 1937 flood. I have a chapter on Donald Wood, who was a local attorney. My timing was good. I interviewed him about a year before he died, and he was a POW captured at the Battle of the Bulge. So just interviews I did over the years. I transcribed a lot of those, and just stories that really aired on the radio one time, and I thought they were too important to let disappear. So it's been fun. I never thought of myself as a book writer, but I have two, and I'm working on maybe a third, although my wife says no, but I'm doing some research.
Well, we had a wonderful visit when we were there, and went to the new statue of Daniel Boone and Simon Kenton, and just what a neat place. Very comfortable.
I'm a part-time tour guide for Lacey. When the riverboats come in, we take them on a bus out to Washington, and the passengers are so complimentary of the town, and I'm born and raised here. I just love Maysville.
I think you better do the site analysis. I have a section I have to talk about our experiences, and I might just defer to you, and you could give us a verbal tour.
Okay, I'll try.
Just to let everybody know what we're doing, we have about 6 more minutes. We just did a audio check and make sure our PowerPoints work. It's being recorded now, but I will slip this or snip it off before I share it. And we want to get started right at 2 o'clock, where we're going to have introductions where, it's who you are and what you do, and then one neat thing about Maysville, all in 30 seconds or so. And Lacey's going to organize that from the city side, and then we'll go and introduce everybody else who's online from the National Park Service and the Recreation Trail. So, Mr. Weddle, while we're waiting, maybe who is the most famous basketball player from Maysville?
Well, it depends on who you ask. I'm going to give you about 4, and I'll go in reverse. I'll go in reverse chronological order. We had 2 Mr. Basketballs, which is the top high school basketball player in the state. In 2008 was Darius Miller. He went to the University of Kentucky, was the 6th man, kind of the glue guy on UK's national championship team in 2012. He played several years in the NBA, just retired last year, had a pretty bad Achilles injury, and that forced him to retire. And 5 years before that was Chris Lofton. Both of them went to Mason County High School, which is here in Maysville. Chris was also Mr. Basketball. Both he and Darius Miller led the team to state championships. So we had 2 state championships in this small town in a 5-year period. Chris was not recruited by the University of Kentucky, and that is a sore point. He went to the University of Tennessee, came back and beat UK a couple of times, and you actually had people in Maysville wearing Tennessee orange, which you would have, if you would have told someone that in 2000, they would have sent you to the funny farm. Chris was discovered in a drug test in the NCAA tournament in his junior year that he had cancer. He survived cancer, but that probably ruined his NBA chances. But he's had a great career in Europe. He's won a couple of championships. And then you go back 1987, Darren Feldhaus played for his dad here at Mason County, was one of the top players in the state. And he went to the University of Kentucky. And if you've ever seen Christian Laettner's shot where Duke beat Kentucky in 1992, Darren was one of the guys trying to guard Christian Laettner. And every time that video comes on, Darren owns a local golf course. And every time people are sitting around the bar and that comes on, they go, "There you are, Darren." But Darren played college basketball in Japan. And then you go back a little bit farther, 1970, Ronnie Lyons, who many people will tell you was the best player in Maysville. 5'9". He averaged 35 points a game his senior year without a 3-point shot. And he went to the University of Kentucky and played for Adolph Rupp and played for Joe B. Hall, who just died. So that's a bunch of them. I see Norbert sitting there, so I better mention some St. Pat guys. Jay Gask would be at the top of the list for me at St. Patrick. But we have a great history. The Maysville High School closed in 1991. They won a state championship. Their girls won a state championship. They had a legendary coach. And then St. Patrick, the parochial school, has had some very good players throughout the years. Any more, and you're going to have to buy my book.
That sounds great. We have a couple minutes before we get started, and we just want to remind everybody down at the bottom, it has a chat button, and we're asking everybody to put their name in there, their contact information, and who you represent, or just private citizen. Welcome, Wendy. Wendy is from Portsmouth, and we'll be doing this tomorrow. So if anybody wants to participate tomorrow, they're more than welcome to talk about Maysville and to talk about Portsmouth and, upstream. And we'll put you on the spot, Wendy. How far upstream is Portsmouth? Amazing.
What are we? Less than an hour away. I think we probably more like 35, 40 minutes. Yeah, Maysville friends? Does that sound about right?
Absolutely.
All right.
This is John here in downtown historic Maysville. And yeah, I can vouch for that. About 35, 45 minutes.
Perfect. Hi, John.
Hello.
Well, it's 1:59. And so once again, we're asking everybody to put their name and affiliation and contact information in the chat. We just want to keep this recorded accurately. We're also recording the whole thing, so that will be available for everybody else. We want to start off with just a series of introductions. And my name's David Wicks, and I'm calling from Louisville, Kentucky. The Ohio River behind me. I'm a large river rat, and I'm a co-chair of the Recreation Trail, and have worked with most of the folks on the call for a long time. And the bottom line is we're just excited to be here. We're excited about the potential of working together. We're excited about the potential of river recreation. Yesterday, we had an Ohio River discussion series with an economic impact study done on one river called the Great Miami River. And it's millions of dollars. And it's just fascinating to look at not only the tourism impact, but the public health and access to the river and the time to watch the river go by. Anyway, we're going to just run through, and I've asked Lacey to introduce herself, and it's a pleasure working with her over the years. And so, Lacey, if you could introduce yourself and then all around to the Maysville folks and have them. The idea is short, and, one neat thing about Maysville.
Sure, I'll start us off. We will also be joined shortly up. She's coming in now by Mayor Cotterill. So I'll start off. Lacey Holleran. I'm the tourism director here for Maysville, Mason County. Before that, I did the tourism for the Augusta region as well. And I'm also the chair for the Northern Kentucky River region, which is 13 counties stretching from Carroll all the way down to Lewis. So we're all very invested in the river here as far as tourism goes. So always looking to be a better river town. I'll go around. I'll start out with Caroline. Caroline Reese is our Main Street Director. Caroline, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, well, she started off very well. I'm Caroline Reese. I'm the Main Street Director here in downtown. That's kind of like the mayor of Main Street. That's about it. Lacey has to, I was going to say full width, but I'll say guard over the whole county, whereas I just have that little section of wonderful down there. One thing about Maysville, come on, you know, I don't want to take up your whole day. There are too many things to list. Can't do just one. Come and see for yourself.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to John Ming. John is actually just started hole in the wall kayaking downtown, but also the group was just talking about prior to the meeting his beautiful wintry pictures that he posted as well. And then they have a business downtown as well. John, you want to chime in on that?
Absolutely. So, good introduction. I'm John Ming. I've got a historic, two historic buildings in downtown Maysville. So I like to renovate and recycle the old buildings, the old structures. My wife runs a salon and boutique in one, and we live in the other one on the second, third floor. Avid kayaker. I began kayaking fairly frequently on the Ohio River, and just really saw the potential and the treasure in that. And so I reached out to the city and was able to locate the owner of a CSX railroad trestle area that's large enough to hold probably 25, 35 kayaks, and was able to gain access to that. So a lot of work cutting the door open, and now I've been hauling out about 40,000 pounds of river mud, river silt. But now that it's about 3/4 of the way cleaned out, it's looking like it's going to be a prime location to launch kayaks come spring and summer. So that's progressing very well. And I've had people reach out to me already to look into renting, you know, a space in the area. So looks like it's going to be a go for this summer.
Outstanding. Thanks, John. Let's see if Mayor Cotterill, are you on now?
I am.
There you are.
Good to see.
This is Mayor. Yep, we can see you. Deborah Cotterill. She is our mayor here for the city of Maysville, and I will let her introduce herself further.
Thank you, Lacey. I'm happy to be a part of this today. I'm excited about the possibilities and some of the plans that we have for moving forward with our city, and especially that incorporate the river and the opportunities that we can capitalize on there. And our community is terrific in how they partner with private and government and entities to make the most of our downtown and our whole county. And so we're looking forward to the opportunities to expand that. Thank you, Lacey.
Thank you. We will go to Grant Felice. Grant, among other things, is an outstanding science teacher here in the area, but also takes care of Cummins Nature Preserve. That's a 110-acre preserve here owned by the county. Grant, do you want to chime in on that?
Sure. I'm Grant Felice. I'm the park coordinator at Cummins Nature Preserve. We've got about 6 miles of trails, 2 camping spots, a picnic shelter, and an amphitheater. And we've reached out to especially the bikers and the kayakers and canoers that come up and down the river to make sure they know that we're out there, because We're only about a half a mile from the river itself, and the camping is free. And if the camping spots are filled up, I can find a place for them. So that's important for them to know when they're coming up the river and they need a place to stop. That also enables them to stop and enjoy the county and the downtown area as well, and then come back and have a camping area too.
Fantastic. Thank you, Grant. Just going down the list, we'll introduce Jerry Schumacher, although online it says Yvonne, which is his wife. Jerry is actually an active member, just retired lucky man from, let's see, I believe it was the Ripley Bank. And he's active member of our Rotary Chamber of Commerce. Jerry, do you want to add on to that?
I just want to say thank you for inviting me to join the crowd today, and this will be an interesting conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Next up on my screen is Robert Rowe. Robert is our director here at WFTM, very involved in a lot of groups. Also a big part of putting together some activities in the community, like one of my favorites, which is the pumpkin glow at Cummins Nature Preserve. Robert, you want to add on to that? I'm sure I missed a whole lot. Let's see, we are not able to hear you, Robert, or at least I'm not able to.
It's on mute.
How about that?
Much
That
better.
help? Oh, right.
That's better.
I'm always happy to blow our own horn. Maysville is an amazing town. For a town our size, two of the things that always comes back to with us is that we like to punch above our weight class as far as amenities, history, you name it, we've got it. And it all comes down to the people, really amazing people who make this community so attractive for guests to come back again and again.
I'll add to his resume. Robert just left my board, the Main Street board, and he was chairman for 4 years, served for 8 years. So he is involved all over the county as well. And we're really lucky with that outlet of WFTM over there. They cheer us on every step of the way.
Thank you.
Sure do. Let's see, we had a little bit of introduction from Danny Weddle earlier. Danny, do you want to quickly introduce yourself again for those who weren't on?
Sure. I'm retired from WFTM. Robert and I were co-workers for 38 some years. He was my boss, I guess, for about 8. And I'm now director at the Chamber of Commerce. I'm both on the regular board, the executive board. I'm a part-time tour guide. And I tell you, when people come in, they rave about Maysville. And kind of to go along with what Caroline and Robert said, you know, we're a small town, but I think we have big city ideas. Without some of the big city problems, we have a low crime rate. We have a beautiful area to live and work in. But we do think, you know, bigger than our weight class, and we're trying to achieve more. And I think this is going to be an interesting meeting and find out how we can use the river.
Thank you, Janie. Rebecca Smith, do you want to introduce yourself? Rebecca is our events coordinator here in Maysville and at the Cox Building.
My name is Rebecca Smith. Like Lacey said, I'm the events coordinator for the Cox Building here, and I'm her assistant for the tourism side of things. I actually just moved to Maysville last year in May when I got married. My husband grew up here, so I have had a large learning curve of learning about the city, and I've loved everything so far, and there's always something fun going on, and it's pretty great.
Thank you, Rebecca. And I will go ahead and let my partner in the screen here, Norbert, introduce himself.
I'm Norbert Collinstein, and I'm a lifelong resident of Maysville. Been fortunate to run a business in downtown Maysville for 25 years, just had my 25th anniversary. I have 3 buildings downtown. One of them's a nonprofit for Sprinkles of Hope. It's for children or adults with disabilities to give them employment after they get out of school and stuff. You said to say one good thing about Maysville, I agree, it's hard to say one, but after being in business for 25 years and having people come from all over and getting to meet them, I would say probably the number one thing, because it's visual, is our architecture downtown. People see it and they're just kind of amazed at the row houses, the old structures, the old buildings, how they've been saved. And thankfully, we've got some young people such as John and others, I don't want to leave anybody out, but have taken buildings that had empty square foot above them and turned them into residence and nice rental spaces with a lot of young people that like living in downtown. And we've got a new community, a new area to live in, and that's downtown Maysville. And people are moving into downtown, and people like John and others that have made that happen.
Great. Is there anybody else, Lacey?
It looks like we just had Mike Jackson join us. Mike is on my tourism board. He is also the director for the Small Business Association here in downtown Maysville. I'll let Mike further introduce himself.
If I can unmute myself. Again, Mike Jackson, lifelong resident of the area for the most part. Work with the Small Business Development Center out of Moorhead. So look forward to working with this group and try to work with any businesses, new or old, that we have in the area. So look forward to increased development downtown Maysville and the area. I work a 5-county area.
Oh, it sounds
Thank
like
you,
we have.
Mike. I'll also chime in that Mike and his wife have a Airbnb right in the heart of downtown, just across from Norbert's establishment.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for the introductions. It's, that's what it really is about, is creating community and working together for the river and for the town. We're going to run through just who else is on the call quickly, and we're going to start off with the NPS folks, and we'll have a roll down the road for sure. But Andrea?
Sure, I'm Andrea Ireland. I work for the National Park Service Rivers Trails Conservation Assistance Program, and that's RTCA for short. I'm going to save all of my RTCA cohorts the pain of saying that whole thing. I'm in the Ohio field office, so I'm usually located near Cuyahoga Valley National Park, but I work all over Ohio, Indiana, and beyond. I'm happy to be working on this project.
Russ Clark.
Russ Clark, landscape architect, RTCA program, stationed in Kentucky, working throughout this region. Really excited with this project. Thank you for being here.
And Larry Calhoun.
Yes, my name is Larry Calhoun. I'm the outdoor recreation planner for the National Park Service for the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail. I'm based in Omaha, Nebraska, and we do have a connection with Maysville in the fact that a local resident, John Coulter, joined the expedition when it was when they had stopped to camp at Maysville, Kentucky in 1803. So we do have a relationship already. Thank you.
Michael Schilling.
Michael Schilling, National Park Service RTCA program, based out of Atlanta.
All right, and maybe we could then start with Brewster Rhodes, our co-chair here.
That's what I am, co-chair from Cincinnati of the Ohio River Recreation Trail, and I'm also on the Board of Adventure Crew, which works with inner city schools to get urban teens out into nature. So thanks so much for joining us.
Jack Sutton.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jack Sutton. I'm a volunteer with the Ohio River Recreation Trail. Been involved with these Rivertown reviews for a couple of years now. In my prior life, I retired as the CEO for Great Parks of Hamilton County, which is the metro park serving Cincinnati, Ohio region. glad to be here. Look forward to the conversation.
I left off John Oliver from the National Park Service. John?
Hi there. Actually, John Olivier, but you're not the
Olivier.
first one to call me Oliver. That's for sure. Not the first and won't be the last. Anyway, I'm a retired Parks and Recreation guy, about 35 years worth, and most recently with the Muskingum Watershed Conservancy District here in Ohio. And I'm helping Russ and Andrea and RTCA on this great project, and so happy to be here.
And we have two consultants, Chris Manning.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chris Manning, landscape architect with Human Nature out of the Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky area. And we're so honored to be working with ORRT on this and excited to be part of today's discussion.
And Sarah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah DeLandro. I work with Chris Manning with Human Nature. I'm an environmental and community planner, also participating as part of the ORRT project, and we're looking forward to the discussion today. Thanks for having us.
We have several other guests. Ches.
Hi all, Ches Cheswick. I put in the chat that I'm a freelance outdoor and adventure writer based in Cincinnati. I'm also the executive director of the Outdoor Writers Association of America, and I'm pretty heavily involved with the Society of American Travel Writers as well. And Brewster invited me along, so happy to be here and to get to meet you all.
Great to have you.
And Wendy Waugh.
Hi, I'm Wendy Waugh. I'm from Portsmouth, Ohio. I've been a long-term member and active board member of Connects, which is the cycling, hiking, kayaking group. Any limestoners out there? I think we've gotten involved in some of the limestone rides that you've had there in Maysville. And we get a review tomorrow. And I'm now the newest member, I think, of the Ohio Riverway Board. So I'm privileged to join all of you today.
All right. And we have Stacy.
Her microphone does not work, but she can hear everyone.
Okay, sounds fine. Well, did I miss anybody? Maybe we could start our PowerPoint show there, Andrea. And while she's calling it up, it really is quite exciting to be here. Next slide, please. You know, these Rivertown reviews, we've done 12 of these so far. And the intent of it really is to gather your ideas. We've had sort of a 3-year process of developing the Ohio River Recreation Trail. We've got a website together. We're working with the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail. And now with the National Park Service, we're just finishing up this Rivertown review process. It starts off with a couple pieces of a desktop review and site visits, which we'll talk about later on. Then most of the conversation today is going to be around SWOT analysis of the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And there's a mural software program that the National Park Service uses that sort of gathers these ideas, and then we can rank them, or you rank them, about the appropriateness. And then we sort of delve into those desktop reviews a little bit, but the second part of it is really brainstorming. What are there items that would really move Portsmouth forward, both in the short term and in the long term? And one of the interesting parts is then that all of our colleagues in the National Park Service will take all of this data and produce a report that really comes out with their items of what they thought the consensus items were and tie them to potential funding sources that you might consider. You know, the 12 different communities that we've worked with have done a variety of different things with these reports. Some of them turn into economic development study pieces. Some have turned into funding from COVID pieces. So, you know, range goes forward. We did one on the other side of Louisville in southern Indiana, and they ended up taking it as part of their $4 million investment into their parks, and this was one of their large rationales. So wherever you guys take it, you know, it's up to you, but hopefully by mid-March, we'll have a report completed and we'll have a chance to review it, and then we'll present it. And during this process, as we said below, there's the chat button. We're asking everybody their name, their address, their email, who you're affiliated with. All through the presentation today, we want you to be active in it. Sort of type down your thoughts, your reactions to what's being said, as well as any questions, because we'll have people monitoring that and they'll get answered eventually. Thank you. Next page. Just a little bit about what we've done so far is we really go from Portsmouth on down to West Point, 275 miles. We're working with the National Park Service, with the Army Corps of Engineers, and we take adventures. But I think what we really end up doing is it's called connecting communities and promoting recreation. That's our underlying deal. Next slide. We have our website, which if you haven't been to it, I certainly highly recommend it. Next slide. We want to just talk a little bit about this digital guide. And one of the pieces working with OKI, which now they've received several national awards for it. It's one step above the normal tour guide. We've gone through and really identified all of the different sections that have concern, safety issues, but also working with the commercial industries. We have every barge identified. It's updated every 5 to 15 minutes. The direction, how fast it's going, because one of the perceptions of the river is that it's unsafe. And so the bottom line is, let's stay out of the way of the barges. And this really helps people identify where it is. So working with the Coast Guard and all of those other entities, one of our bottom lines is promoting safety. Okay, next. We have some great partners, all this digital stuff is in the process of being updated, which we'll talk about today and towards the end of the presentation. But, there's projects going on already. And one of our best partners really is the National Lewis and Clark Historic Trail. And we're pleased to have the new director of Outdoor Recreation Program Manager. Is that the term? I'll get it. But anyway, Larry Calhoun oversees all of the outdoor recreation between the Pacific Ocean and Pittsburgh. So thanks for being here, Larry.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. The Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail that is administered by the National Park Service. It's more than 4,900 miles long, and it traverses, as you can see on the screen, 16 states, and it covers many tribal lands. It's along the historic route of the 1803 to 1806 Corps Discovery Expedition. The epic journey contributed significantly to the people and landscapes of all of North America. Currently, the trail has over 6,600 miles of designated auto tour route, which provides visitors access to historic routes through rich recreational, interpretive, and educational opportunities. The trail links contemporary, authentic communities and cultures, including tribes whose connections span thousands of years, to historic, vibrant, and living landscapes. Whether traveling the entire length of the trail on one trip or just short day trips to just small segments of the trail, both can be rewarding. In 2019, the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail was extended to add an additional 1,200 miles along the Ohio and Mississippi rivers from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to Wood River, Illinois. The travel experience, in addition to the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail webpage run by the National Park Service, there's a separate website from the National Park Service. It's lewisandclark.travel. That was launched July of 2021. The National Park Service, the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail, we're all committed to telling the stories along the trail and believe in the power as small businesses, attractions, and passionate community members across the U.S. that transit the Lewis and Clark Trail. We love to hear your stories, your passions for creativity, and we're here to support you and to tell your stories and to work together throughout the trail from Pittsburgh through the Pacific Ocean. The Lewis and Clark Travels and the National Park Service's primary goals are to encourage visitation from the traveling public to all the businesses, communities, attractions, and destinations along the Lewis and Clark Historic Trail. We do this by growing an online platform to help businesses, communities, and attractions and destinations to have more visibility and economic sustainability. We utilize digital marketing efforts to share unique stories about the land and linking the past to the present. This program will always remain completely free to all that want to be part of it. The Lewis and Clark Travel. We do have exciting plans for 2022 that your community in Maysville should and can be part of. These include the introduction of a new mobile app that will allow visitors to interact with the trail, our new social media pages. We do have blog articles and features, and we're telling storytelling from the local communities. And we have exciting expert interviews that we also post. Any site or attraction that is part of your Maysville destination and cultural heritage, past or present, would be a perfect addition to the Lewis and Clark Travel site. I encourage you to log on the Lewis and Clark Travel and to add your favorite sites and attractions in your area. The NPS invite all from your community to view the webpage and to become partners with us. Your designation as a partner will allow us for closer communication, working together to help promote sustainable visitation and economic development in your community. An example would be that the Park Service will provide auto tour route signage for the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail to designate the route throughout your community. To learn more about the Lewis and Clark National Historic Sustainability Community Partnership Program and join us and help us showcase your community of Maysville and all of Kentucky. So please, thank you for your time and go to the Lewis and Clark Travel webpage and check it out. And I appreciate your time. And now from the National Park Service, Miss Andrea Ireland.
Thank you, Larry. Before we go on to the next slide, I just want you to take a look at the little blue dots on this particular slide. Those are the dots that do appear right now on the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail Experience website. You have the opportunity at no cost to add more sites, more points, more dots onto that map. And because the Lewis and Clark Trail goes right through your backyard, right in conjunction with the river, this is an excellent opportunity for you to get some more national and international leverage out of your location.
Thank you. Yes.
So I'm with the Rivers and Trails Conservation Assistance Program. And sometimes people wonder, what is the National Park Service doing here in Maysville? We don't have a national park, but our program is an extension of carrying out the mission of the National Park Service, which is to cooperate with partners to extend the benefits of natural and cultural resource conservation and outdoor recreation throughout this country and the world. I feel like RTCA really brings home the mission of the National Park Service to everywhere. We help support community-led recreation and conservation projects for everybody. And we do that through partnerships like the one that we have established with the Ohio River Recreation Trail. We bring a number of different kinds of experience and technical assistance to projects. Sometimes it's facilitation, other times it's landscape architecture, conceptual drawings, engaging communities, and engaging youth, helping to develop organizations. And all of it is in the name of helping communities to realize their vision. We help you to help yourselves to realize what your potential is, connecting communities and outdoor recreation. If you are interested in the services of RTCA, we do have an application period, and those are due by March 1st. Or you could just contact one of us to find out more information about that. And so again, we have a couple of RTCA people on the call, Russ Clark in the Southeast region, and Michael Schilling also in the Southeast region, and John Olivier, who is working with us through the Experienced Worker Program. So that's what the National Park Service is doing here in Maysville today. I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Russ Clark, to talk a little bit more about your town.
Thank you, Andrea, and welcome everyone. It's time to talk about your town. And whenever I start to look at a town, I have to look at the orientation. Google Maps gives me a good basis for that. And as I look at your community, you have that front door opportunity with the riverfront and your proximity to downtown, a very walkable distance from the river to your major assets of historic structures and commercial district. You've also got access on the river. Next slide. I also look at the components that you have within your community, and you have a dynamic water park, river park, marina, and campground opportunity that you've established over time there by the levee, and you have a landing park there, links right into the central business district, providing for transient docking, which is very important for the motorboating community. Next slide. When I look at a community, I also look at where they're going, and your master plan kind of sets that course. And you've got a plan that was established in 2016 that charts the course for the city and the county. And more importantly, just released a bicycle pedestrian master plan that was prepared by the Mason County Health Coalition, going through the process of being adopted by the local communities and hopefully being sent on to the Department of Transportation, Kentucky Department of Transportation for adoption. And that provides and paves the way for future opportunities for investment. You also have two unique historical walking tours, one for Maysville and the other for Old Washington, which are great tourist attraction promoting part of the history that you have that's so prevalent in your community. Next slide. As we look at the characteristics of the river and what the opportunities are for water trail initiatives, you've got great opportunities for upstream and downstream access within that window that we look for 6 to 10, maybe 12 river miles for a day or half a day trip that can either originate upstream and end in Maysville or start in Maysville and end downstream. So you are set quite well in terms of water trail opportunities with your location on the river. This map also shows the relationship upland to the Old Washington Historic District and some of your other recreation parks, as well as the Cummins Nature Preserve, which was mentioned earlier. Next slide. Next, we'd like to start engaging you and getting information from you folks through a SWOT analysis process. Now, we're going to look at things from an internal origin for strengths and weaknesses, and we're going to look at from an external origin, opportunities and threats. And we're going to go through all four of these with your participation. And as we go through each one of these individually, these four quadrants, we will ask you to help prioritize of all the ideas generated, which ones you think are the highest priority. And so to facilitate this process, Michael Schilling will lead us through a process to introduce us to the software Mural. Michael?
Yes, thank you, Russ. So yes, Mural is a powerful program tool that allows us to do what we would be doing in person virtually instead of a whiteboard in front of the room where you stick some sticky notes on there. We have it virtually to Mural. Before I throw down the link for everyone to go to, do we have any folks on the phone? This program doesn't work with those on a phone.
Good.
Okay. Very good. So I will drop this link into the chat box. You can find that chat box option on the bottom of your screen, I believe.
Oh, we
And-
might, I'm sorry, Michael, we might have Rebecca could be on, she's listed as being on an iPhone, and I believe Judge McNeil showed a screenshot and he was driving a car, so he's probably on a phone too.
Okay. Well, for Judge driving, we probably won't.
Yeah,
want,
he might just have to be a listen only.
Yeah, right. For Rebecca, what we can do is we can designate a planning team member to be your voice through the mural program.
How about Jack?
Jack, are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So
Does it work with an iPad?
you know, I'm not actually sure. I haven't tested that. We can try, and if it doesn't, we'll also designate a person for you. So we'll give that a shot. Rebecca, for your input, you can message Jack directly through Zoom, and he'll be able to vote and write down what you would like to be put.
Through
So
the chat box. Yeah.
through the chat box, that's correct. I will drop this link. When you first get in, you'll hit this link through your chat box. When you first get in, you'll have the option of putting your name or remaining anonymous. That's totally up to you. We'll be hiding everyone's cursors anyway, so it should be relatively anonymous. So you should hit that. You get assigned a random animal. Very good, we're getting in. 10 people so far.
So at this point, we do a little check to make sure that you can see the screen, the mural screen that says Rivertown Review SWOT Analysis. Should be a big whiteboard with lots of little cursors going around. Anybody having problems getting there? Just raise your hand. Okay, looks good. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, sounds good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide everyone's cursors. And then to navigate through mural, you can hold down your mouse button and drag. You can zoom in and out with your scroll wheel on your mouse, or you can use the plus minus in the bottom right corner. That can also do it. And what we'll be doing is we'll be plopping down stickies as we go. And to do that, you will just double click onto the white part. So we'll go ahead and bring everybody here to the, I'll summon everyone here to the strengths, and we'll take our time on this first one, and I'll hand it back to Russ.
Thank you, Michael.
This is the mayor, Deborah Cotter, and I'm going to switch mine to a computer.
Okay.
Oh, great. Yeah. What we want to do now is start thinking about strengths of your community. And there are a number of things there that we can consider. I'll give you a few ideas, but please use your sticky note to start typing your ideas down that you would consider strengths. And it could be, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Russ. You want to double click to create a sticky note.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Double click to create a sticky note, and then you can start typing. And if your sticky note starts moving around, that's because in the background, we're trying to group some things. So don't worry, it's still going to be there for everybody to see. We will try and group them a little bit as we go through this process. But when we start thinking about strengths, what are some of the things that you could build on to help better your community? What are some things that your community does well that you might want to put down? You really do well in your community. You have any unique resources that you should capitalize on? That's another strength to consider. What qualities might separate your community from your competitors? truly a strength? Are there any internal resources such as skilled and knowledgeable staff that provide you a strength or an edge above some of your competitors? Are there any tangible assets that you know of that give your community strengths? And then another one is what do others see as your community strengths? Those are all categories that you can consider when you're putting down ideas for strengths. And we'll continue to with this process for a while of adding the information. And as the ideas kind of slow down, we will put a time limit on it. And then the next step will be is we will vote on the top 3 choices that are listed under strengths that you think should be the highest priority. But again, with strengths, we want to look at things we can build on, things that the community does well, unique resources, qualities to separate you from your competitors.
Just going to jump in here and ask if anybody's having problems or questions about the use of the software. Jack, are you picking up what's in the chat?
I've not seen anything new. Oh, wait, there is one from WFTM. I'll add that.
Okay.
Great, thank you. We want to collect as many different ideas from you as we can under the category of strengths. This really helps showcase your community. I see a lot of ideas coming up here that I would be putting down if I were participating, just having looked at your community from afar, from what I've seen from the internet reviews, what I've seen from the master plan reviews. These are all very relevant ideas coming forth for strengths for your community. And take a moment to kind of glance through. There might be someone else's idea might generate a new idea for you. So I know it's sometimes hard to multitask, doing a couple things at once, but do take a moment to kind of scan what's coming up, might generate another thought. History, location, friendly people. Variety of seasonal festivals. It's great. Nature preserve, Cummins Nature Preserve. Outdoor activities, beautiful riverfront. City and county work extremely well together. That is fantastic. Underground Railroad history. Showcase to public art downtown. Ample lodging opportunities in the heart of downtown. Boys, other communities wish they had that. I can tell you from past reviews. And we're going to probably start putting a little bit of a time limit on this so we can keep things on track. So Michael, if we could put up 2 minutes on a time frame, I'd appreciate it. And we'll do a polling. A little less than 2 minutes to go. Please put down any last thoughts you have.
Jack, excuse me, Jack, there's a few more in the chat too.
Okay, I thought I was catching them all. Let me look.
You could be. And when we go on to the next one, you'll all be experts at this. It'll go much quicker.
Yes.
You have become Post-it note proficient.
Excellent ideas. 1 minute left. Any last thoughts you have, please jot them down.
I think I've captured all the ones in the chat, Russ.
Thank you, Jack. Great. I think everybody's doing very well with this. The great ideas. We've filled this quadrant up. In a moment, this session will end, and Michael will walk us through the polling process so we can select 3 items. We ask that you select 3 different items and not vote on the same item 3 times. And Michael will explain how we do the voting process and how you could change your mind in the voting process if you would like to change your mind.
All right, so that's our airplane sound. Let us know it's time to vote. So like Russ said, we have 3 votes per person. Please spread your votes to 3 different sticky notes, 3 different ideas. We'll go ahead and start that. The way you vote is you'll be left clicking on the sticky note you'd like to vote for. If you accidentally select a sticky note you did not want to vote for, you can get your vote back by right clicking on that sticky.
And we did try to group some things together so that you could see what's all there. But in the aftermath, we will put like similar things together that get voted on to provide a more accurate representation.
Is the voting screen up?
Yep.
Okay.
So you just click on that and begin voting. Jack, if you have too many people that you're giving input for, I can cast some votes for them.
Yeah, I've captured comments from multiple people, so I'm not trying to vote.
Okay.
I think, look at the different ideas, try and pick your priorities, 1, 2, 3, and do so by clicking on the sticky note itself. You will see a little red dot come up. That's your vote that you cast.
And you won't see the dots of anybody else being cast.
That's right.
Until we reveal the results.
We'll give you another minute here to continue with the voting process, and unless you need more time with the chat box, Jack, we can go a little longer if you need it.
I see that some of them are very similar in nature. So if they're very close in what they're saying, will you all combine those?
We will after the fact, yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. We will be generating a list of all these different ideas, and we'll combine the ones that are very similar into one. And if similar ones receive different votes, we will add those votes to that topic in the report. So number one vote here, beautiful historic downtown.
So these are the, oops, sorry, Russ.
Go ahead.
These are the results. You can scroll up and down to see what was voted on.
I just have to call out that even though it didn't receive the top vote, I don't think I've ever seen a response of so many Post-it notes talking about good communication between the community and the leaders, communication with the government, community leaders working together. I truly do not think I've ever seen that many Post-it notes about something as a strength. So that's a really good opportunity that you have there. That's an excellent quality that will help you to build upon everything else that you want to do.
I second that. That's a very good point.
Maybe Maysville could bottle their water and sell it to other river towns up and down the corridor.
So to exit the results screen, you just hit the white X, right?
In the right corner.
In the right corner. And Michael will zoom us into the next quadrant, which is weaknesses. Again, internal origin, things that you consider to be weaknesses for Madison, or for Maysville, I'm sorry. And that those weaknesses could include things such as issues you should try and overcome. Go ahead and start putting your Post-it notes in and populating the weaknesses and what could be improved in your community, in your opinion. What needs to be improved?
And I'm monitoring the chat, so if it's easier to type your thoughts into the chat, I'll cut and paste it onto the Post-it notes.
Great, thank you, Jack. Yes, and we want your input.
And Lacey, were you able to help Rebecca?
I actually am texting her right now and was just getting ready to tell her to type her top 3 into the chat, and that way you guys could post it for her.
That's great, thank you. So as we're thinking about weaknesses, what could be improved? Things that your community lacks, and what does another community have that you don't, that you wish you had? Things that your competitors do better than you do? Are there areas where you have fewer resources than others? And what are others likely to see as your weaknesses? Those are just some thoughts to consider. Again, things to overcome. What could be improved? Things the community lacks. What do your competitors do better than you? Where do you have fewer resources than others? What are others to likely see as your weaknesses? Never enough money. Money comes up on this quite often, believe me. Funding is a huge challenge for all communities. Hard to get people volunteers. Same people show up for everything. Flood wall hinders our view. River views, I should say. What could be improved? Challenges that need to be overcome. What your community does not have that you wish it did have. All items to consider under weaknesses. Two minutes. Please put any last thoughts you have regarding weaknesses of internal origin. You're truly becoming experts in using the Post-it notes here in this software. Just so you're aware, we've found through this process that there's a lot of parallels between strengths and opportunities, weaknesses and threats. Any last thoughts?
One more coming in, Russ. Hang on.
Oh, okay. All right. That's fine.
I'm a slow cut and paster.
That's all right. All right. I appreciate you doing it. We want to collect all the information we can.
Okay, I think I've captured everything from the chat, hopefully.
All right,
It's
great.
still there if somehow we missed something.
Yes. Yeah, we are giving the information regardless if it's in the chat. We're almost done with this section. Hey, Michael.
Okay, let's do our weaknesses voting. Again, just like before, we'll have 3 votes per person, 1 vote per sticky. Go ahead and start.
Oops. I will be casting the vote for the mayor, and Jack will be casting the votes for the judge. So if you want to put your responses, your top 3 votes in the chat, we'll go ahead and do that for you.
Great. Thank you, Andrea. And remember, you can zoom in if you can't read it very well to help make it easier to read the sticky notes. Got another 50 seconds to cast your votes. partnering with neighbor towns. Funding, as I mentioned before. No designated cycling lanes. Fuel station for boats. Hey, voting's been cast. Two items, the top vote getters. Remember, you can scroll down to review all of the votes cast. This just gives us a little bit of an indication from your collective input on what you consider to be the priority issues.
Hey guys, I apologize. This is Judge McNeil. Could you read the top three vote getters?
Yeah.
I just don't have access to.
Yeah, oh, I sure. Top voting results under weaknesses. Downtown stores cater to their own hours, not communities, and certainly not those of tourists. And the second one was lack of bike connections to other river towns up and down the river. Some of the roads are not safe. Those were the top two vote getters for weaknesses. And we will provide all this to you in a quick summary within hopefully a week's time, so you can see all of the ideas generated in all four categories and the voting results. So you will have this information shortly in written form.
So you can hit that white X top right again to go back to the real screen. We'll summon everybody to opportunities.
We're going to continue the same process. This is now looking at opportunities of an external source. What are some things to explore that aren't there now that should be considered? What could we explore to make this community better? Are there any underserved markets where we should be providing service to that are not at this point? Are there any emerging needs for the community? Up and coming things that the community needs to be prepared for? Opportunities. What trends could you take advantage of that you're aware of? What don't you have that would make your community better? Opportunities. How can you turn your strengths into opportunities? As I mentioned before, there's a strong correlation, often a lot of overlap. Strengths and opportunities, weaknesses and threats. And the primary reason we go through this exercise with our communities in Rivertown Review is to help give us a stronger understanding of what's important to you in your community, where you think your community might need to go through the brainstorming process we'll be doing shortly. It all provides a foundation for our recommendations. Things to explore, underserved markets, emerging needs, new trends should be prepared for, what you don't have that could make your community better, what opportunities are there that you should take advantage of to improve our community. Maysville has a great relationship to the river in terms of proximity. However, no, you do have, and you have great historical content in terms of architecture. We've also already created dynamic historical walking tours. And so you're really trying to take advantage of those opportunities that are right there. What are some new ideas that you can come up with?
Michael, could you give us 1 minute, please? Thank you.
We're in our final minute for putting Post-it notes up for opportunities. And then we'll go into a voting process again. "20 seconds left. Any last thoughts?
I think we've got everything from the chat, Russ.
Great, thank you, Jack. Some of you folks are very fast typers. I can't type this fast. As Andrea knows. Okay, thank you. Michael.
Opportunities voting, 3 per person. And you may begin voting.
Again, I'll vote for the mayor. You got my vote.
And I can cast votes for the judge if he wants to type his preferences in.
And again, remember, you can zoom in a little closer to make it, if you have access to a computer, to make it a little more readable. A lot of information to glance through. Please cast your 3 votes. And 30 seconds left in our voting process. Ten seconds. Okay, we have 4 items of the top vote getters, 4 votes each. One is make walking trail along the river. The next one is upgrade bike infrastructure. The next one is partnerships, Vanceburg, Manchester, Portsmouth, and then downstream to Augusta. And 4th, river walk to link downtown to River Park. Those were the top vote getters at 4 votes apiece. Remember, you can scroll down if you're on a computer to see the rest of the items that were identified under strings. Okay, we'll go on to the last one of the SWOT analysis. Remember to exit the voting by clicking on the X in the upper right corner. You may begin doing your Post-it notes for you consider to be threats, external origin, and consideration of things to minimize, emerging competitors, what threats would harm your community or could harm your community. What threats do your weaknesses expose you to? And are you aware of any regulatory issues that are coming up that will be a threat to your community? We've got 4 minutes to complete this quadrant. Threats, things to minimize, potential emerging competitors, what threats could harm your community, what threats do your weaknesses expose you to, And are there any changing regulatory issues that you're aware of? Got 3 minutes left. Typically, this does not have as many post-it notes as some of the other quadrants. Now you are all truly experts in providing input through the Merrill software, doing post-it notes and doing polling results. And you are now already warmed up to do the brainstorming session we'll be doing in a couple of steps here. Things to minimize. Emerging competitors. It's going to take people away from your community. Looks like we're slowing down a bit.
We can go ahead and vote.
Have we captured everything out of the chat?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Jack. Okay.
Okay, I'll go and start the voting session.
Well, people are casting your votes. Threats. You see which of these ideas are they consider to be the highest threats? 30 seconds left.
Russ, I just want to let everyone know there was one more idea in the chat. I didn't get it on the post-it in time, but it will be in the chat, and so it will be tabulated by you all.
Okay, what was that idea, Jack?
The idea is loss of Simon Kenton Bridge. So that's considered a potential threat.
Right, okay.
It's already listed, actually. Perhaps by some.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. There were 5 votes for 3 different items. The first one is historic buildings getting older, no ordinance with teeth to the curb deterioration. The next one is loss of Simon Kenton Bridge. Also had 5 votes. And then 5 votes for littering and not cleaning it up. Those were the top 3 vote getters under threats. So with that, I think we can close out of the voting and out of the mural, go back to the PowerPoint, and I'm going to turn it over to David to talk about the desktop review and visitor community visit.
Well, thank you very much, Russ. And before I get started, I just wanted to see if Judge McNeil, would you like to introduce yourself? You missed the introductions in the beginning, and we'd love to say hello.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. This is Mason County Judge Executive Owen McNeil. I greatly appreciate you guys and your team coming in and, reviewing where we are. We always look forward to to any opportunity to kind of understand what those best practices are from river communities all up and down the Ohio River corridor. And I think Maysville and Mason County represents the, while I'm a little bit biased, I think it represents the best opportunity along that Ohio River, being, less than an hour out of Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati, and less than an hour out of Lexington, Kentucky. Thank you guys for being here. I'm enjoying the presentation.
Well, thank you very much, Judge. And, just to let you know, all through this conversation today, it's commented how well the county and the city gets along, and that there's a unified mission and vision. And I 100% agree that, Maysville is a center of attention for Northern Kentucky and for the Ohio River. I have two roles here really with my time, is that to talk briefly about the Rivertown Review desktop review. So we had 13 people spend about an hour and a half looking at your social media, and I will certainly get Lacey all of their comments. And they were incredibly optimistic and positive, the photogenic historic areas, and even the 2020 Maysville Visitor Guide was called out quite often. And just sort of the many comments about how active and the vibrant community is in the social media. There's a great history focus and a great introduction to restaurants and bars and lodging. Several people commented, though, that there's not that much of a focus on the Ohio River and how to engage with it. There was also several comments about connecting with the river towns and really positioning Maysville in where is it in the 981-mile stretch of our river. And so I'll get all those comments to Lacey, and they'll be included in the report. Next slide. We spent several days walking through Maysville and meeting and had a wonderful visit with Norbert and Hole in the Wall Kayak Company. We were just so very impressed, as everybody has said through the time, you're a pedestrian friendly river town, and it's given in every area. We really thought the whole new Daniel Boone statue and the Simon Kenton statues were wonderful. We just wanted to call out John and the Hole in the Wall Kayak Company. We still can't believe how fast, Maysville, CSX, John, everybody worked together to open this up. We here in Louisville, we have numerous issues with railroads, and to do it in a month is just amazing. And I think the bottom line is the railroad and the flood wall separate you from the river, but you've done a great job with some of the murals. Next. And it's just, you're part of the river. And, one of my favorite things really about Maysville, which I've done now twice, is to paddle from Maysville up 10 miles to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Islands in the National Wildlife Refuge right up there. It's about 10 miles to Manchester 1 and Manchester 2. And if you like motorboats, it's just a perfect day outing. And one of the interesting things is that they're starting to work now to allow primitive camping for people who are going through. So now there's the Cummins Preserve, there's the marina there, and maybe U.S. Fish and Wildlife Islands, which would just be fascinating. Next, and it's just a beauty. I just think some of those shots of down by the river. I'm just a river person, and I love the shot there with the lights on the bridge, just beautiful. Next, this next section really is about brainstorming. We could go through all the exciting projects. I'm just tickled to death what Norbert has done with the M2M and raising funds for the bakery for folks with mild disabilities to serve. I had some just wonderful food there, and just that interaction between the river and all of your citizens. It just is just neat. And so I just wanted to thank Norbert for his time and energy and the free lunch. So thank you, Norbert. I want to turn this back over to Russ or Andrea, I guess Andrea, to talk about our next step.
Thank you, David. I wanted to back up just a little bit for something that I missed, kind of an overview of what this Rivertown review process is, just very quickly, because some of you are just appearing here for this community input meeting, but this really has been a process. And Maysville had to apply for this activity for us to come in and do this with the community. They had to submit materials beforehand. We did do the desktop review that David just talked about, and we did do a site visit, which also, all of these things will go into a report. We are having this community meeting. We are taking your feedback, and we will be doing some follow-up work with you from this meeting to give you another opportunity to provide input. And what comes out of it at the end is a report for your community that you can take back, share with your elected officials, share with the members of your community who are enthusiastic about this. So the whole Rivertown review process is something that we have developed over this time, and it was originally meant to be in your community working with you. But we've really tried hard to pivot and still make it interactive despite COVID restrictions and us not being able to travel. So this is one of the most important parts. Well, they're all important, but this is an opportunity for you to really put your ideas out there. We did the SWOT analysis to kind of prepare you, get you in the mindset for thinking about your community, how things are good, how things could be better or different, and helping you to see what your other community members are thinking of that might inspire some ideas. So we're going to take a few minutes and go through the brainstorming process. This will be through another mural, more Post-it notes, but you guys are professionals at this now. I will give you some prompts, and I will also give you some quiet time to come up with your own ideas, as I've been instructed that a good facilitator will allow you an opportunity to think on your own. All ideas are good ideas here, wild and ambitious. If you were to ask a genie for anything, what would it be? Nothing is off the table, because sometimes other ideas can come from that. You're encouraged to build on other people's ideas as well, but you can listen to the prompts that I'll give if you're looking for some ideas to spur you on. So with that, Michael will go, he's going to put another link, a new link in the chat that will take you out to the mural. It's not software, is it? It's out there, the mural site, and where you will work on the brainstorming. Okay, so again, I'm going to ask, you can enter as, you can put your name in, or you can enter as whatever mysterious animal you want to be, because those cursors will be hidden. And Michael's going to call us to the brainstorming section. Then we will try to, and you can start entering those ideas right now. Remember, double click if you want a new Post-it note. We will try to sort those into short-term and long-term ideas for you, and those will be what we will prioritize or vote on when we're all finished. So just go ahead and enter your ideas in that brainstorming.
And Andrea, I'll continue to monitor the chat.
Okay.
It's easier for people to type in ideas into the chat, then I'll cut and paste it onto a Post-it note.
Okay, thank you. So if you're thinking about, another benefit of these Rivertown reviews as we had to pivot to do this virtually is think about the ways that these ideas can be sustainable for when we come out of COVID, because we will someday. And there has been such an increase in recreation, outdoor recreation during this time. It is something that people can do for their mental health and safely. So what are some ideas that can be sustainable to help your community to realize the increased benefits of tourism after the fact? So remember, all ideas are good ideas, big ideas, small ideas. Think about the things that you heard from the bigger picture of the ORRT and the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail. Think about what was said during the Rivertown review, the desktop review, I'm sorry, and the community visit, and also the SWOT analysis. And think in terms of, not exclusively, but try to think in terms of outdoor recreation and the river. You have an amazing resource right in your backyard. Are you utilizing that to its fullest potential? How could your town further engage with the river, whether it's through outdoor recreation, historical tours, view shed, bike paths? And how could your community further engage with the Ohio River Recreation Trail and their increasing efforts at promoting recreation and connecting communities? Think about the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail. That's a national opportunity that you could leverage. Do all of the people in your community even know that you're a part of that? And are you capturing opportunities for tourism with that? Trying to capture something out of the chat here and get it in. What are some trip opportunities that you might be able to incorporate? Whether it's long bicycle trips, or is it connecting to communities? What's upstream from you? And what's downstream? Where are people going when they leave your community? Or how are they getting to your community when they come from upstream? Do they know everything that your community has to offer from the river, whether they're in a motorboat or a kayak, or even driving along the road? What about those historical connections and programming ideas? Lots of good ideas coming in there. And think about how the Ohio River Recreation Trail could be beneficial, further beneficial to your community. Okay, we got just about 20 seconds left. Thank you, Michael. Before we go into a vote, did anybody have any questions or comments about the brainstorming section? Because you all got very quiet, so.
Shall we vote for short term?
I think so.
Okay, so just like before, we'll have 3 votes per person. And please spread those votes out for 3 different ideas. And you may begin voting. We're just doing short term. We'll do another vote session for long term.
And in our defense, some things that are short term may have made it into the long term and vice versa, because we're just quickly trying to sort. And opportunities might arise that create something that is a short term item instead of a long term item. Got 1 minute left to vote on your 3. Oh, good. Mayor was able to vote. Got about 30 seconds left. Lacey, you doing okay there voting, or is Norbert taking all of your votes and telling you what to do?
We're doing pretty good. We were, it's
You got
such
voters
small.
over here.
Okay. So after a very robust brainstorming session, and these are the votes for the short-term ideas: a concrete Riverwalk extension all the way to River Park, and develop Maysville outside event series. Okay, those are great. Each of those had individual votes. And then the next set is pretty high up there as well: cleaning up our backwater and connecting it to the river recreationally, and more events that utilize the riverfront. And once again, we will be combining things of like mind or similar activities when we compile these results as well. All right. Anything surprising about those top vote getters? And remember, you can scroll down, so everybody's got an opinion. All right, so exit out of the short-term ideas. Michael will summon us to the long-term ideas, and we'll do another voting. I see there's already a few votes there. Okay, we have about a half a minute left. Okay, so those results come back with the most votes for a river taxi between Augusta, Maysville, and Vanceburg. Day trips to focus on distilleries. I like to say all trails lead to beer, but I suppose in your neck of the woods, it's all trails lead to distilleries. Some places it's ice cream, so distilleries it is. All right, thank you for all of that. A lot of information in a short amount of time, and we really appreciate your participation. You can exit out of the mural, out of the voting session and out of the mural software and come on back to the, oh yeah, oh, did Michael do confetti? Oh, I missed it. We like to celebrate when we have a successful brainstorming session, and I missed it. Darn it. Next time. Okay, so if you come back to the PowerPoint program, and I'm going to hand it back over to David, who's going to give us.
Thank you very much, Andrea. And once again, thanks for everybody putting so much information in. We have one little last part, and that is our next steps. And the Ohio River Recreation Trail for the past 2 years has been a voluntarily led initiative. Recently, we've joined together with the Ohio Riverway, which is a 501c3 organization in Cincinnati that just helped finish building or continually help build the Crown there in Cincinnati. So now Brewster is president of it. I'm vice chair. And it's just a wonderful organization to really think about our next steps. One of the first pieces we've done is to raise some philanthropic dollars, and we've entered into a contract with several design firms, Human Nature, and Polar Designs and Right to Win, all in Cincinnati, to help us think about the branding, to help us think about an updated mapping system, to help us think through the signage at every single boat ramp on the river, to think about a long-term strategy for bike trails. But we have Chris Manning here and Sarah with Human Nature to talk a little bit about their work and how they can help us think about how to weave all these recreational processes together into a braid. And so, Chris, I'm glad you're here.
Well, thank you, David. It's been a pleasure and just really inspiring to hear the dialogue and to see all the ideas generated in the session. Just like to give a shout out to the NPS team. You do such an amazing job and so thoughtful and thorough. Good job to Andrea and Russ and Michael and everybody. So thank you for that. We're honored to be part of this effort. Came on board in December, getting started, and just a few things about us. We're a planning and design firm with landscape architects and environmental planners that focus on parks and park systems, trails, greenways, blueways throughout the Midwest. We've had the pleasure of working with Brewster on projects over 20 years. We've worked up and down the river, both sides, large cities, small towns. Really just an honor to be part of this. And so we'd like to talk to you a little bit about what we're up to, both us and our partner at Polar Design. So if we could go to the next slide. So one of the things that we noticed as we read the first 9 Rivertown reviews is that always there's a finer grain of information that's available. I mean, the Lewis and Clark content is fabulous. The OKI digital guide is fabulous. You know, you have the National Park Service National Database of Historic Sites. lot of things that we're pulling together into one cohesive database. But when you drill down in these Rivertown reviews and when we have conversations with partners up and down the river corridor, we notice that there's a much finer grain of content that still needs to be added. And we're starting to call it a braided network because there was a lot of excitement at the summit earlier in the year about, or late last year, about different themed trails. There might be trails that are connected to history, or some that are connected to ecology or food and entertainment or drink. And so, you know, there's different ways to experience the corridor: by water, by bike, by foot, by car. And so you can start to imagine these different lines weaving up and down the corridor, both sides, connecting the dots of the many assets that are there. And so we're starting to add depth and breadth to that database, and we're working with all of these wonderful partners. And it's really inspiring. And one of the nice things is we get to assemble all this information from all these wonderful sources. And then as we get finished, we'll be able to give back this robust database to everybody that shares. And you'll be part of that. And so we'd like to talk to you a little bit about that kind of call for information. But before we get into that, we're also using this sort of braided network and this idea of these different experiences up and down the corridor to build a new brand for the Ohio River Recreation Trail. And that brand will help us better communicate what we're trying to celebrate with the corridor and all these destinations and assets that we have. And then we'll also translate that into a new signage system, that all the communities up and down the corridor can adopt and use, so that, again, there's a cohesive messaging and a celebration of this corridor as an asset to all of us. So we'll be developing signage standards. We'll give kind of a toolkit to everybody so that you can apply it in your community. And we're working very closely with Kolar Design, who's really taking the lead on the branding and the signage as part of this work effort. So in Maysville, again, so many wonderful assets. And I heard specifically things like the Cummins Nature Preserve hiking trails. I heard the Maysville Bike Ped Plan that you recently produced. I heard the historic walking tours, for example. And so we have some beginning content in our database for Maysville, but we need a lot more. And we need your help in getting that. And ideally, what we're shooting for is to get it into digital form. And so let's talk about the next slide here. And so when we get it in digital form, it's much easier to plug into this larger database. And so we're not digitizing lines on a map. And so we're really looking for points, lines, and polygons. So points might be a historic marker or some statue or piece of artwork. You know, lines might be a trail or a walking tour or a historic drive. So lines are things that kind of connect multiple points. And then polygons are, you know, usually properties. So like Cummins Nature Preserve would be a polygon. Any of your major parks or historic sites, distilleries, things like that could have polygons. And so we're asking all of the communities and all of the counties up and down the river corridor in our study area, 274 miles, to contribute to this finer grain so that we can make the database as strong as it can possibly be. And we can represent you and all of the great assets that you have in our database. And so, you know, AutoCAD drawings usually come in a DWG file. I know that's pretty technical. GIS files usually come in an SHP or something like that, shapefile kind of format. And so we're looking for things related to recreation, related to cultural sites, existing and planned trails. All of those sorts of content will really help us. And you know, you might have to reach out to some other resources that maybe aren't participating in today's meeting, like a city engineer or the county PVA you know, a lot of people have this sort of database already readily available or can easily translate it into Excel files or something like that that can be shared. So we're hoping that you'll follow up. We have kind of a checklist that we'll be sending out and would appreciate your adding to the database. So thank you very much for your time, and look forward to more interaction in the future, to updating the brand, to sharing the signage concepts with you and all of that. So thanks again.
You know, one part that Chris and the team are working on is also thinking about the structure of how best that our communities can work together, and thinking through it so it's a seamless process, and how then the state can support those synergistic activities. So we've had conversations with you know, the Kentucky Cabinet for Tourism and Heritage, and done the same thing in Ohio and the same thing in Indiana. And there's interest in helping support the signage systems. And so, you know, it's not totally dependent on the local community. We hope to be able to deliver a lot of that stuff as people desire it and want it. You know, it is a collaborative venture as we go forward, developing the adventure potential of the Ohio River corridor. I'm going to turn it back over to Russ Clark for his some final comments, and then we'll go around and see if, you know, if anybody has any 2 cents for the world. Russ?
Thank you very much, David. As we start to wrap up, we'd like to invite you to continue to look at your community with fresh eyes, and use the chat box for a couple minutes to identify what should be included in a perfect day in your town. Where do you take visitors? What are the key places? Please just put a few thoughts down in the chat box so we can capture what your story is on where you take visitors in your community. And as you're also thinking about who else should be involved in this process, who should know about this Rivertown review, and who can contribute additional information to help us better understand your community. And then who else would you want to know about the project overall? And we want to be here to help answer any questions you have. But most importantly right now, if you could just take a few moments to write down in the chat box where you take visitors, what's key in your community, what do you do to showcase your town? And those stories, again, help us better understand what's really important to you in your community. Andrew, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, they can all put in Norbert's place if they want, because I hear good things about that. But if you had a relative coming from out of town, where is one place or a couple places that you would take them? What would you suggest to somebody who's coming to visit? And as far as the contacts, the additional contacts, you know, who should know about the Rivertown Review and the information? Is it your elected officials? Is it your decision makers? Is it leaders of community groups? And who would want to know? Who's that community champion who really cheerleads for every effort that goes forward? You'll want to make sure that you get their name in on this as well.
You know, one exciting piece in another audience is Representative Massey. He gave a great talk at the annual meeting that we had, our annual summit. And so his staff is dedicated to helping think through that. I just wanted to, as people are typing in best ideas for Madison, where you should take people, I just want to call on Brewster Rhodes a minute to share some of his observations as co-chair and as a visitor to Maysville many times.
Well, thanks. Unprepared here for this, but the bottom line is Maysville is, you all recognize it's such a beautiful place with all the assets you all identified. I was interested that some of the themes that came up in opportunities especially had a lot to do with biking, with connections by walking and biking trails along the riverfront and in the community and to other communities, with organizing outdoor events, maybe an outdoor Maysville outdoor series of events where you could do the biking piece, the paddling pieces, maybe some runs, but basically as a way to promote the community as a mecca for outdoor recreation events. I mean, you already have, you know, a number of events historically you've done, but how do you build on what you already have so that people start thinking outdoor recreation events? Gee, I ought to go to Maysville for the weekend, or at least find out what they're having over the next 2 or 3 months that they can find out about online. I think the development of the marina more, the fuel dock issue is a huge one, because that really inhibits the ability of power boaters to make weekend trips very far away. I know that tons of people in Cincinnati, I live part-time on a houseboat at a marina, who love taking multi-day trips. They just, A, don't know exactly where to go necessarily, or B, they're worried about fuel. So anyway, I just am so excited with the turnout and the engagement here. Thanks so much. Good job. A lot of wonderful ideas. We will steal and encourage other communities as well to consult with you about how to do in their community.
You know, one of the ideas that is generating up from this recreation trail, Booster is helps coordinate the Paddle Fest there in Cincinnati. You guys have the M2M Paddle Fest. In Louisville, we have the the Mayor's Hike, Bike, and Paddle. Is there a way of having a 3-ticket pass type of deal where you recognize people who do all 3? So how can we get more folks from Louisville, more folks from Cincinnati exploring the corridor? And so we're totally open to all of those different projects and ideas and suggestions, because, you know, a river floats all boats. I just wanted to go around and see if Judge McNeil or Mayor, do you have any final comments, or Lacey, any one of the 3 of you?
This is the mayor. I have a question for you guys. Like when we do the reply to the information that you need, some of the things that have been on today's are already in the works or budgeted in the city's budget for this coming year. And so will there be an opportunity to update that information to you guys once those things occur?
I would say it's an interactive document, and our dream is to support you down the road. And it's just wonderful. You know, one of the processes of this is to really identify those things in consensus. And if you're already funding those ideas and some of the consensus items, that's just perfect. I'm going to let Andrea, what are your thoughts on that question from the mayor?
Yes, I think those would be important things to include. We are going to have some follow-up, and that will be a good opportunity for you to provide us with that information so we can include it in our final report, that you are acting on these things already. So be looking for some additional opportunities to provide input from us. We will be sending out a cleaned up version of the SWOT analysis and the brainstorming list after we've had a chance to work it a little bit. We will be putting together what the perfect day is in your community and who the other contacts are, and you will be able to provide us with those, more of those details. We know you're going to leave this meeting, you're going to be driving home, and you're going to say, oh, I wish I had mentioned that because that's such a good idea, or oh, here's a great business idea. So you will have another opportunity to provide that kind of input. And we will also send out a checklist of the data that Human Nature is looking for. We're also going to ask you to visit the 2 websites, the ORRT, the Ohio River Recreation Trail, and the digital guide that's on there, and also the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail NPS site and the travel experience. So what we're planning on doing after that is we put together a summary of the findings for your community and provide you with that report that you can then take to your elected officials, decision makers, and the community and act on it. We will provide you with some recommendations for some low-hanging fruit, easy opportunities, some long-term ideas, and also some a good resource file to act on some of those ideas as well. And then further on, we are taking all of our Rivertown reviews that we've done. This is number 11, I believe. We have one more to go. And we are going to be doing a summary report of all of those so that all of the communities along the river can benefit from the challenges, the successes, and the opportunities, and further connect with each other through this Rivertown review process. We did have a summit in October of last year where we called together not only the communities that have been through Rivertown reviews, but also other interested parties. It was a great celebration of all the work that's been done so far. And I know that the ORRT wants to continue that annual summit as well. So there will be more opportunities to connect with those other Rivertown communities. I've also put our email addresses here, or you can contact Lacey. I'm sure she'd be happy to gather information, or David, who is your ORRT community contact as well.
You know, one other thought, Mayor, is that the RTCA program has, you know, it's a wonderful technical service. It doesn't come along with any money, but you get a wealth of technical service folks who can help facilitate discussions and really bring in the best management practices. So they've worked with the Ohio River Recreation Trail, our 274 miles, for the past 2 years. So if you had a specific initiative, say in my town where I live in Prospect, Kentucky, we have a small stream. Russ Clark came and met with the mayor and the county judge, in our sort of parks department, and ended up designing a boat ramp and came out with the specific drawings, and it's there now. 3 years later, National Park Service designed boat ramp in a small town of Prospect. And so it not only gave us a free consulting service, but it also had the oomph that the National Park Service designed it. So you have that coming together around consensus. So I would really recommend that if you have a thorny issue that you want to sort of really expand upon opportunities within the river or recreation or the conservation initiative, you know, how to expand the Cummins piece. You know, that'd be a fascinating thing that didn't come up. Can there be a way of connecting the Cummins Nature Preserve with the river? That's what they do. They're now working with Boone County right now to do an overall assessment. Boone County has the largest section of the river in the state of Kentucky. And so they're spending their time with the Boone County Conservation District and the elected officials, look at that whole frontage. So I would definitely follow up with them and get a specific RTCA grant. March 1st is the deadline.
David, just real quick, 2 things. One, I'm happy to be a consultant as a volunteer with any of you thinking through paddling events in your community based on the experience we've had over 20 years in Cincinnati with the Ohio River Paddle Fest. Number 2, we'll be following up with Lacey to make sure we have all of your major events during the course of the coming year, because we're creating a master Ohio River Recreation Corridor master list of all of the events along that stretch from Portsmouth down to Maysville, down to West Point. So you guys will be very well represented, but we will be then helping to market what you all have to people throughout the region.
I just I'm sorry, Andrea, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I do really appreciate the expertise that your panel brings to this discussion today and all the effort that you put into putting this together. And I also really appreciate all the local folks that have interest and that participated today and that provided some of this input and insight. And so I just wanted, on behalf of the city, to say thank you to everyone.
Yes, that's what I was going to say too. Thank you, all of the community members, for jumping in and participating. It couldn't happen if it was just the team. We don't know the community as well as you do. And so thank you all for joining us today and the amount of effort that you put into this as well.
Lacey, any final comments?
I would just reiterate exactly what Mayor Cottrell said. Thank you all so much. I know I had a huge ask for reviewing the websites and, you know, joining us today for a couple hours. I know we're all very tired of Zoom calls and things like that by now, but really appreciate all of the input and cannot wait for the review to be complete.
Does anybody else have any final comments for the good of the order? Well, it is 4 o'clock. We wish to thank you very much for your commitment to thinking about a system-wide, river-wide approach, getting more federal dollars. That's one of my goals, is to really, you know, have the National Park Service put more stuff into our area. And when you look at ecological restoration initiatives, many other areas of our county or of our country get more than the Ohio River Basin. So how we can engage not only the recreational people, but the water quality people and the biodiversity people. Think about the river as a corridor. It's not only a transportation corridor, which it is a recreation corridor, it's a historical corridor. So I just wish to thank everybody for their time today. And we look forward to being in touch. And I certainly look forward to visiting Maysville once again. Thank you.
Please do.
Thank you, everyone.
Goodbye.